I have a list of questions, and I was writing some things, and I looked at the first question that I wrote, and my first question began with, "So you have just killed somebody," and I realized that that's maybe an aggressive way to start this. It is something that I was like asking though, is that if you're told you have one last meal, you're in prison, and they say you have one last, maybe a better way to phrase that, because you've worked around the world, is you come back to Thailand after a long time abroad.
Right.
What's the first thing you're going to eat?
What's the
first thing you get when you come back, or the last meal you're going to have before you
I die?
Before you're on death row. Yeah, exactly.
Actually, it's pretty simple. It is probably a national dish. Not really. Khao Kai Jiao, Thai omelet and rice. That's it.
I mean, there's a reason they call things like that comfort food, right?
Yeah, because that reminds you of home. That reminds you of being Thai. That reminds you of everything that constitutes Thailand and our eating culture.
For the last 2 years since Daria and I moved to Bangkok, we've had one mission: to understand our new home, and as a career cook, to figure out what is Thai cuisine. The deeper we explore, the more confusing the subject becomes. I mean, this is a massive country, a place with thousands of years of history and influences from every corner of the planet. And yet there's something innately Thai, something that can take a foreign dish like curry or a noodle soup and make it something else, something unique. So for one special video, we're sitting down with the master of Thai cuisine to get the answers to all of our burning questions. When Anthony Bourdain filmed in Bangkok, he didn't take on the city alone. As a guide, he contacted Chef McDang. It was the same for Gordon Ramsay on his show 2 years later, and it was even Chef McDang who taught Jamie Oliver how to fix his Thai green curry after getting Uncle Roger. He's a CIA-trained master chef, the author of 7 definitive Thai language cookbooks and what's known as the Bible of Thai technique. He's revered in the kingdom and an expert on everything from street food to the palace kitchens. And today he's joining us for lunch and sharing the lessons usually available only to a select few. The secrets that can take someone from a fan of Thai food to a world-class expert.
You fly into Thailand, you've been away for a long time, you get that plate of omelet and rice.
Right.
One thing that I think people are usually surprised by is one of the reasons why I started this channel is because I didn't like Bangkok before I moved here. We moved here because it was one of the only places that would take us when we left China.
Right.
And I thought we would stay for 3 months and then we'd move on somewhere else.
Right.
Because as a foreigner, when you arrive in Bangkok, and I came here for work, I came to consult on restaurants, I came here on business, and I came as a tourist because everybody comes through Bangkok when you're going anywhere in Southeast Asia. My expectations as an American of what is Thai food, I loved the Thai food that I grew up with in the US. I loved the Thai food in Hong Kong, and I came to Bangkok and it was different. It wasn't what I thought I was going to get.
Different.
And that was a little bit hard for me to understand. I was looking for, for these things, these stoplight curries, and then you come here and what you're describing, to me, living here, Thai food is street isan, it's mu ping on a skewer, it's omelet over rice, and then it's a lot more layered, and we'll get to that part. But I just want to talk for a second about expectations versus reality. When somebody comes to Bangkok, right, how do you open your mind to understanding that Thai food is maybe not what you expected it to be?
You have to take that out of your, what you have been used to abroad, and take it out of your head. And then, green chicken curry here is not the same as green chicken curry in the States or in Dubai or anywhere, because you don't have the ingredients that we do. We are in the tropics. You are in temperate climate. How are you going to cook Thai food without using all the ingredients, fresh ingredients especially, because our paste is made from fresh ingredients. Therefore, it has the more intensity because we're in the tropics. So it's like Thai basil and Italian basil. It's two totally different profile because one hits you like a 10-ton truck. The other one is like, oh, very mild, very, very delicate. But Thai food is not delicate, huh? You have to understand something. First of all, you have to understand Thai food history. Second of all, you have to understand our ingredient and you have to understand our geography, where we come from, where our country is situated. We're in the tropics. So all the herbs and spices and everything are available here. But you also have to understand that we never had chili peppers and other kinds of stuff. But basically, the roots of our cuisine, what's the roots of French cuisine? Can you explain it to me? Because I'm French trained, that's why.
The pre-Escoffier roots of French cuisine.
Yeah, from Escoffier on, pre-Escoffier. But French cuisine is a sauce-based cuisine. Because when you first start learning how to cook French food, you have to make the stock and all the mother sauces, bechamel, hollandaise, and all these kinds of Espanol. Everything is sauce-based. Thailand is a paste-based cuisine. And there are 9 ingredients that goes into making a paste. And this is only for central region. Okay? So the 9 ingredients is galangal, and it's not ginger. It's what yin and yang. Most people, you can substitute ginger. I said, are you?
When I see a recipe that says, oh, galangal, but if you can't find a substitute ginger, I don't keep reading.
It's not true. One is yin, one is yang. One is hot, one is cold. Okay? Lemongrass, galangal, kaffir lime, rind and leaves. Okay? And then there's white peppercorns, coriander roots, okay, Thai garlic. Have you seen the Thai garlic? That's small, but
course.
Smack it and smell it. It's really Thai shallots, okay, chili peppers, dry and fresh, and all kinds of chili peppers that did not come from Thailand, and shrimp paste that the Chinese taught us how to do.
The thing about the ingredients you listed, so the first kingdom in Central Thai region is the Dvarvati Kingdom, which is 700s AD, right? Before that, do we really know anything about what people were eating? Not really, we can guess. But what you're listing as the foundation of Thai cuisine, a lot of that is endemic to this region.
Yeah,
and,
yes.
And to me, the interesting thing, not to interrupt you, but I want your opinion on this. I think that if you look at anywhere, the earliest cooking techniques, you take stuff, you put it in a pot, you boil it. Or you throw it on a grill, and an early grill, you cook it on a fire.
Right.
If tom yum or tom klong is such an interesting thing to me, because that's sort of, if you take out everything that arrived to Thailand through outsiders, it's still kind of tom yum. It's almost there. And obviously as new flavors arrived, you add it to make something taste brighter and more vibrant. But Thailand is blessed with an amazing amount of natural ingredients. The endemic stuff to Central Thai region, lemongrass, galangal, kaffir lime, that's here, that's native.
Now, let me explain. If you go up north, we are far away from the Gulf of Siam, all right?
Right.
Therefore, we don't have shrimp paste. So we're near China. We are next to China. We're next to India and Burma. So the 9 essentials that I just told you has to be adjusted and has to be taken apart. What do we use up there? We don't have shrimp paste. we use fermented soybean paste, ถั่วเน่า.
Correct.
There are two types. The one that is in paste and then steamed, and the one that is dry in a cake form and then you have to grill and soak in water and then pound it. That is used instead of. And we don't use that much galangal, we don't use that much kaffir lime, that much, because everything comes from India. And a lot of stuff are dry ingredients. So the northern cuisine is almost Chinese.
Well,
And a great example of a dish that is Lana, India, Burma, and China is Khao Soi. Perfect example. The curry itself is half Thai, half Indian. And then you make a very rich curry. The noodles uses wheat and eggs, so it comes from China. And then, so that's Burma, India, and then China. And then with food science, Thais, we have a pretty good palate actually. It's so rich if you eat khao soi without the pickled cabbage and the shallots and the lime juice and the chili peppers that's been fried. So you get the heat and the acid to cut the greasiness of the dish.
This is the fascinating thing, is that, you know, food predates borders. China, Yunnan province was not part of China when you know, the people settled the region of Shan State,
Exactly.
Myanmar. However, there is something uniquely Thai about it, which is that if you try a Burmese Onnok Khao Soi and a Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai style Khao Soi side by side, very different, and you can tell Burmese palate, and this is gross generalization, but it leans saltier, and Thai palate leans sweeter. So
Yeah.
you don't have any palm sugar in a Burmese curry.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing about in the olden days, Thai curry was not that sweet. But all of a sudden, we all became diabetics. In the 1700s, late 1600s, when during the reign of Narai the Great, Thai cuisine changed completely. I taught how to cook through cooking techniques. And before Narai the Great, we only had 4 types of cooking techniques. No frying, no stir frying, but we have boiling because we have clay pots. We have grilling, and there's so many words for grilling in Thai. Ping, yang, pao, ap. I mean, lam. Lam means you take a bamboo stick, and then you shove the eggs and khao lam. Have you had? That's grill as well. So, and then if you wrap it in banana leaf, that's called ap. I mean, grilling, salad making, and steaming. That's it. 4. And it didn't change. Didn't change at all. Pre-Narai the Great and after the Narai the Great, everything just changed, and we had desserts, and it was the first revolution of Thai cuisine. The second revolution came, I can tell you about three revolutions. Second revolution came during the Ratanakosin period. You know, Ratanakosin is the island where the Grand Palace is. Okay, from Rama the First to Rama III, the Chinese migrated in great numbers to Thailand, and they all were allowed to settle on the eastern seaboard. And that was the next revolution, because the wok, stir frying and deep fat frying came. And then it's the Chinese who did the noodles.
It's 1953 in Bangkok. World War II is over and Thailand is in the middle of a period of unprecedented growth and development. And in Bangkok's Sukhothai Palace, a child is born into the royal family with the name Siri Chalerm Savasti, given the title of Mom Luang as a direct descendant of King Rama IV. Today, of course, he's best known as Chef McDang. Now, the young McDang was raised in the home of his great-aunt, Queen Rampai Bani, served by the country's best chefs making the country's best food. And those chefs, well, they were also part of his family. Both McDang's grandmother and great-grandmother had cooked in or directed the palace kitchens, notably at Sa Patum, where they prepared meals for the future kings Rama VIII and Rama IX. And while his father wasn't a famous chef himself, well, in the story of Thai cuisine, he'd cast his own towering shadow. This is McDang's father, Mom Rajawangsi Tanadsri Svasti. And when his son was born in 1953, he was perhaps the country's most famous singer and the star of a popular television show. But that's not how he's remembered today. Instead, it's the fact that he'd become Thailand's preeminent food writer, the authority on Thai cuisine, and the founder and only voter of the Shell Chuan Chim, Thailand's answer to the Michelin Guide, and a logo you've probably seen if you've ever been here and eaten something amazing.
You and I had one thing in common with our upbringing. I didn't grow up in Thailand. You may be surprised to hear that, but I'm not Thai. My father was French, Belgian raised French. And he raised me in a way that was, if you have $100 left to your name, you use it on one great meal, and then you worry about your rent payment tomorrow.
Exactly the same as my father.
That being said, even though I grew up with, when it comes to appreciating food, I grew up with every advantage. I was born in New York City, and surrounded by great food. I didn't care. I was a peanut butter sandwich eater until I was about 14, 15.
What?
Not just that, but like breakfast cereal, peanut butter sandwich, and I'm happy. And I was not an adventurous eater, and maybe that was rebellion. And then for me, I was 16 years old, and I was so hungry that when my teacher brought in a tray of Greek dolmades, it was the first thing I ever tasted, where I remember being like, oh, wow, food. That's interesting.
This is different.
This is different. What else is out there? And I'm curious for you, even growing up, and we'll talk about, your upbringing in a minute, but was there a moment that you can look back to, or a dish or something that triggered? It has to be personal. For you to be so committed to food for your career and your life, it's not just, oh, this is what my family does. There's something personal that must have drawn you to a love for food. If there's something that you can think about as where you really got it and the light kind of went off, that this was something you loved.
Yes, I remember the moment the light went off. I don't want to boast or anything. I was born into a Thai royal family. My great aunt was queen. I was born and raised in a palace. So I had all the greatest royal Thai cuisine that you could get. But my father was also had a title. I also have a title. But my father is like one of those iconoclastic character, and he has a lot of character. And he just went out of the box. And then I remembered when I was 5 or 6, my father would come and pick us up at the palace because my mom and my dad just separated. So I became ward to the queen. So she looked after me. And he would come and pick me up and take me to eat. And we would drive for an hour. And for a little kid, sitting in the back of the car and going, Dad, where are we going? So, and then he would take me to these places. And the food was so different. You see, this would not be served in the palace because it should not have bones. It should not have tails. It should not have anything. You can eat the whole thing. Okay? So we went and had tom yum pla tu, but fresh Thai mackerel. And I went to him and I said, what are these? And he just bumped me in the head and said, you idiot, that's called a tail, and that's called a fin, that's called the bones. And I was like, but I've never seen it before. He said, because you lived in a palace. Then I remember going into the royal kitchen and then two lower kitchen, and the smell, the sound, and everything else was like amazing. And all these people running around, and then I watched them cook, and I was so interested. And then I was sent. I was asked to go abroad, so I went to school in England, to boarding school, and then after that I went to college at. As soon as I went to England, I lived with a family. She was French, he was English, so I asked Mama if I could cook Thai food. She said yes. So I made kai palo, which is not Thai, it's Chinese. Okay, so I made kai palo. That was the first dish I made, and I started cooking, and I really enjoyed it. I had no idea yet. I went over the States. I went to Georgetown University, School of Foreign Service, because the Queen and the Palace wants me to go into the Thai Foreign Office. On my third year, I went to Rehoboth Beach, and I was very spoiled. I rented a house and I had parties, I cooked for everyone. And one day, a friend of mine said to me, and they call me Siri because my first name is Siri Chiller. I said, Siri, listen, you're just partying, you go to the beach and then you cook these great meals for all of us. You have 3 months. Why don't you just go get a job or something? So I said, oh, is there any place that would take me? So I went to the back porch and they hired me as a lunch cook. And I remember the first day that I walked into the kitchen. I toured the kitchen first, but the first day of work, and I knew I'm pretty organized already, and I knew what it was. It was like all of a sudden, somebody turned on the light in that room and said, this is where I belong. I knew from then that this is my calling. We use lard, so there's a lot of the leftover pork crackling. Stop it!
You're speaking. This is a.
And then you stir fry it.
I'm supposed to wait until we can film everything, but you already sold me on this one.
And you have to eat it. You stir fry it with the curry paste. Make it crispy first, and then just toss it in the curry paste, and then kaffir lime leaves.
Eating in Thailand is to be endlessly surprised, to become so used to experiencing new things that your entire definition of eating changes. The country is a paradise for culinary adventure, a vast spectrum of regional cuisines and different ethnic groups that for more than 1,000 years has been a center of trade and the exchange of ideas. To explain the country's food scene in just a quick segment, we'll start with a map of Thailand. To massively oversimplify, here in the central region, including Bangkok and Ayutthaya, the food is based on seafood from the Chao Phraya River. Think tom yum with prawns. There are dishes influenced by the old European traders, especially the Portuguese with their egg-based desserts. And most of all, there's a heavy Chinese presence visible in stir-fries and noodle dishes. To the north and northwest, you have the footprint of the old Lan Na Kingdom. Here you see a lot of overlap with the cuisine of Myanmar, especially Shan State and Yunnan province in China, with hearty and savory foods like Khanomjin Nam Niao and Hang Lei curry. Thailand's northeast, the region called Isan, is mostly populated by ethnic Lao, with a flavor profile leaning spicy and acidic, cuisine based around sticky rice, grilled meats, salads like somtam, and the ubiquitous Nam Jim Jiao, or chili dipping sauce. Far south along the Malay border around the old kingdom of Patani, you'll find the heartiest Muslim curries like masaman, eaten with roti in the country's most famous fried chicken. And there's also the local southern traditions making heavy use of fermentation and pickling along with unique ingredients like the satay, and probably the spiciest stuff in the entire country. And then there's the coastal southeast, not as well known as the other regions, but with its own techniques and traditions based around seafood and fruits like the durian, and with connections to next door Cambodia. In between, there are vast jungles and highlands that have their own specialties and endemic ingredients. That's where you'll find 1,000 kinds of jungle curry and countless uses of game meat. And all of this isn't even close to comprehensive. It's just a general guideline. The idea of Thai food as some kind of monolith is almost an overseas concept. Anywhere else, if you find a restaurant that serves masaman, somtam, and chicken cashew nut on the same menu, well, that would be normal. But in Thailand, that's not a thing. The closest to authentic fusion you'll find here are places like this restaurant, serving endemic dishes from this province alongside a few southern staples, which is what typically happens when families either move from one part of the country to another, or someone from another region marries in. The fascinating thing about each Thai region is that beyond the local ingredients, they also represent a unique blend of foreign influences, which have also put their stamps on the cuisine. There's the Chinese, of course, most famously represented with the dishes brought from Chaozhou and Shantou. But there's also the Cantonese, who introduced things like roasted meats and sriracha sauce. There's the Yunnan Chinese, especially the minorities and hill tribes responsible for the dishes found in places like Chiang Rai. And there's the Hainanese, who introduced khao man gai, as well as bringing Western dishes and even coffee from the kitchens of places like Singapore. Speaking of Western food, as far back as the reign of Narai the Great, the Portuguese brought not just chili peppers, tomatoes, and potatoes, but also dishes that would become part of the Thai lexicon, like phoi thong, or desserts made from egg, and more stuff that came by way of their colony in Goa with Indian flavors like curry puffs. And India, in its own way, would leave its mark on Thai cuisine in a multitude of ways, most notably the introduction of the technique of making curry, along with biryani, in Thailand called khao mok, and itself a product of the Mughal Empire combining foods from as far away as Uzbekistan and Iran. For centuries, as power shifted back and forth between Siam and the Khmer, chefs were sent to and from royal palaces, sharing ingredients and techniques like what we know as homok, as well as the heavy use of things like black pepper. And of course there's Lao, whose own cuisine we've already mentioned as the foundation of the food of Isan. Throughout Thailand, you'll find dishes with origins in Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, and even the United States. And that's not even to mention the cuisine of the ethnic Mon, the first to establish an empire around the Chao Phraya, whose own dishes are still served today, 1,300 years later. But just because something might have originated somewhere else, once it found its way to Siam, over the years it would inevitably take on a new form, one that emphasizes flavors and ingredients that are indisputably uniquely Thai, even if that definition itself is the product of one of the world's great melting pots. And with that, let's continue our conversation.
What makes Thai food Thai food?
Well, what makes Thai food is the use of paste, it's the infusion, and the seasoning. Okay. Traditional Thai food seasoning is very, very, very limited. Palm sugar or coconut sugar, fish sauce or salt, fermented fish, anything sour comes from fruits. We don't have vinegar in Thai food. Therefore, you have to think in terms of being organic. Most of Thai food is organic. But if you have fish sauce in there, if you have paste in there, if you have chili in there, you don't have that. And you have all the herbs that are important, which is holy basil, and mint lemon basil, bai mang rak. And with the exception of infusion soup, that's Thai food. You have to cook with only that. The oil that we use does not have a smell. Sesame oil is Chinese. Olive oil is French, Italian, European. But we used to use pork fat. That's why we have all these things that are great. But this Thai food is really, really important. The heart of Thai food is the 9 essential, and then you teach how to cook Thai with the cooking techniques that we have, and we have very little.
So, with that as the foundation, you know, a lot of what we've done on this channel has been exploring as these different groups arrive. We start with the Thai and the Mon people, and you get the Chinese, which you've spoken about, and the Indian influence, and coming up through the Malay Peninsula, and the Lao, Isan, Khmer, all, you know, Portuguese. All of these things said, is it, you know, Thai food is alive. To me, it's a living thing. It's constantly evolving and adapting.
It constantly evolves.
Is that a good thing? Is it okay to be, you know, that a dish might look different than it did a couple of hundred years ago? Can it still be authentic? Can we still call something Thai with all these different influences in it?
That's a restaurant that you have to go to. Have you been to Ladoo?
Unfortunately, I have never been to Ladoo. I've been to Chef Ton's other restaurants. Never been to Ladoo.
You have to go to
It's
Ladoo.
a hard place. It's a hard seat to get.
No, Ton is like my little brother. This is the only place that fusion. Can we call it fusion? Can we call it modern Thai cuisine? Yes, this place is right. And then that's wine pairing, that's sake pairing, and all kinds of pairing. And the food is really quite good. Some dishes, I would tell Ton, I said, hey, it doesn't work. but you know, they said, oh, P, I understand.
Yeah.
You know. And I don't mind at all. But to understand food, you have to understand food science and Thai history and how we consume our food. Let me put it another way. When you do a roast pork with crackling, okay, and then you have gravy, and you have mashed potato, you have vegetable, why do you put applesauce in there? Because applesauce has acid, and pork is fatty. Everything we have, the gravy has cream, is fatty. So with applesauce, it blends in your mouth and it helps your digestion, and it tastes really good in your mouth.
This is something that, you know, when we talk about, when people say, oh, that's a Chinese dish, okay, having spent most of my adult life in China, you see things, especially in Bangkok with the Teochew community, that trigger a similar look. And it's not just, you know, Bangkok style Chinese comes from Guangdong, Fujian province. In the north of Thailand, it's Yunnan. It's a different type of
Right.
Chinese cooking. However, the difference is Chinese food is salty. It's the flavor profile lean salty. In Thailand, that cutting through the fattiness, cutting through the richness, is tamarind. It's citrus. It's a lot of
Exactly.
techniques that are very different. You can taste,
It's
if you
total
blindfold
concept.
somebody, you taste two dishes that look similar side by side. You can tell immediately which one is Thai, which one's Chinese.
I don't-
Fish sauce, these.
I don't mind them changing the recipes and everything else, but I think they have to understand food science and they have to understand the cooking technique. For example, all recipes for any kind of curry with coconut milk, the old recipes would say take coconut cream
Right.
and make it break. So it separates with coconut oil and coconut milk.
That's correct.
And then you put the paste in there and then you cook it over medium low heat until the paste is cooked. Why do we have to separate it? Because when you separate it, it's this. When the coconut milk separates, the oil absorbs more heat, so it will cook the paste faster. But these days, when you cook, you use a UHT homogenized coconut milk. It doesn't break. So you have to change the cooking technique.
That's right.
Which you have to add oil, medium heat, and put the paste in. It lumps up, add a little bit of coconut milk, make it spreadable, and cook it out. And then you can put the protein in, and then you can go through the
I
rest.
struggled with that when I started learning the cuisine in Indonesia. I fell in love with Indonesian food, with Sumatran food. That was an early love of mine. And I learned from grandmothers in Sumatra how to make a perfect beef rendang, for example. And then I went back to China. I tried to recreate it with the store-bought coconut milk, and you can't. You have
You
to.
cannot.
You have to start from zero and rebuild the dish again. But before we get sidetracked, important stuff, because people watching have a lot of different backgrounds. Whether you're Thai, you're foreign, you know Thai food, you just like food in general. Maybe you found us from other things. What is somebody comes to Thailand for the first time? What is critical for them to know to have a good experience eating in Thailand? And that can be, you can take that in any direction. Dishes you're supposed to try, things to keep in mind, as you said, how you actually eat, the use of incorporating rice into it.
Right.
What would be your 101 level, entry level summary of Thai food for somebody coming for the first time?
The thing about it is this. This is the difficult question to answer.
Right. That's why I asked you. I don't have to answer that.
It's a difficult question to answer because you have to separate certain things. Certain things that are Thai, like our curry, our stir fried with all the paste. These are fine. There's no 101 to do it. Yeah, but then you go to a noodle shop and that's Chinese. You go to Hainanese chicken shop, that's Hainan. But Thai thinks it's Thai. What makes it different in Thailand is that our dipping sauce is a lot more, has more kick to it, and it's much better than other places.
I agree. And Thailand, as far as I know, is the first place that ever started deep frying chicken for Hainan chicken rice as well. The
Right.
crispy chicken.
Right.
That is, you don't find that in Hainan. You don't find that in Singapore.
Exactly,
Right.
but this is Thai Chinese who just like, oh, let's do it this way, let's
Right.
do it this way. I have to take you to one Hainanese chicken, which is near Central Lat Prao.
Okay.
This is a hole in the wall, and you have to come with me, and we have to eat like Hainanese eat, not like Thais eat, with a spoon and
Right.
fork. We have to eat it with pork chopsticks, and there's a bowl of rice, and there's a plate of chicken, and you see, eating culture, you have to understand where it comes from, so that in Thailand, yes, if it's Thai, you eat with a spoon and a fork. And why do you have to put the spoon in your mouth? because everything is cut up and it has sauces.
Yeah.
So I hate it when Westerners come in and put this, and all the sauces drip down in here. I said, no, spoon,
Right.
so you can taste everything. The other word in Thai, another word in Thai that is very important is the word kluk, which means to work it into the rice. So you might have a sauce, and you take this in here, and then you have to work it in here, like this, so that it sticks into the rice.
In some ways, the mission of Chef McDang and our mission on OTR can be seen as opposites. For us, our goal is to take a dish or a technique or a category and break it down to the beginning, find out where each component came from and how it all comes together. For the chef, as a member of Thai royalty and the flag carrier for the most important food family in the country's modern history, his life's work has been to establish not what makes these thousands of dishes different, but what bonds them together, to define what is a surprisingly vague notion of Thainess, and most of all, to make sure that the chefs that come along in the future have some understanding of the principles and foundation needed to cook the real stuff as it's meant to be presented. And while for us, after 2 years here, the topic can feel massive and overwhelming, for Chef McDang, who will turn 71 this year, well, he's been around long enough that it's actually kind of simple. This is more or less the distillation of his life's work. If his book is the Thai food Bible, this is the 10 Commandments, or more accurately, the 9 Essentials, the key flavors that make Thai food, and the simple rules that must be followed if you're going to do it the right way, or if you're going to take anything from anywhere and make it into something Thai.
Okay, so now here is something that was a little bit fun. Yesterday I had this idea where when we confirmed that we were going to do this, and it's such an honor to have you on, by the way. I love your work. You have been so impactful on me and my understanding of Thai cuisine, and this is a blast. I could talk food with you for hours. But when we found out that we were going to do this, I put a post up on our YouTube channel about 18 hours ago asking our viewers if anybody who read this wants to pose a question to you, what would they like to ask?
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna ask, if you'll give me a second to get my list up. People send in some really interesting stuff that I'm gonna throw your way.
Okay.
Let's start with some easy ones. What is a lesser known? This is from user Fransnell9069. Question: what is a lesser known Thai dish that chef thinks that most foreigners might not know, but you would love it if people tried it if they had the chance? Something that's an anonymous overseas Thai dish that people should really understand and try when they come to Thailand.
What we just ate, Gang Tae Po. This one you will never have it over there.
Okay, here's one. This is from Arrow Souffly. He says, he or she says, I apologize. I think an interesting question to ask might be, how do you see Thai food changing over the years? Just in your lifetime, how have you seen Thai cuisine changing? And there's a second part of the question that I'll get to next.
The first part is this. What happened with Thai food is that because the way Thai food is taught, they didn't have structure and they don't have roots. I mean, it's like building a house. You need to put the
Build the foundation before
foundation
you go up.
down. But we don't teach that way in Thailand in terms of cooking. And you think that recipes are the most important. And then they still don't know how to write recipes in Thailand. You know that recipes, you and I are chefs. We have to write recipes like ingredients and how to do it.
Right.
Has to sit in sync. One, put a pan on the stove and put oil in it. So add the oil up here and then put a pan on the stove here. But no, in Thailand, grandma thinks anything that comes into her head and she just puts it in there. And she doesn't.
Chinese food was the same. When I was trying to learn Chinese food,
It drives me crazy. And people said, why is it that when you teach how to cook on television and your cookbook, why is your cookbook so easy to do? Well, it's structured.
Second part of the question, what is your thought on, Adam is one example, on foreigners presenting Thai food publicly? And you know, a lot of the and I've read your comments on this before, a lot of the more prominent Thai chefs are not Thai. How do you feel about that?
Because they speak English, one, because English is the language of communication, of communications all over the world. I don't think any of the Western chefs are better than me. Okay,
I agree.
I have to say that because they don't know the roots.
This is something I wanted to, we talked off the air about this before we started rolling tape, but to me, that's the thing about Thai cuisine is that it's like a weird example, but for me, it's like playing bass guitar. Anybody can make a sound come out.
Right.
Anybody can take a paste and fry it and make a decent Thai curry, right? Or stir fry. However, I find Thai food extremely technical and extremely
Very
complicated because you have to understand not how, you have to understand why. Why is this ingredient?
Why. You understand the heat.
Even within, there's so much, just within fish sauce, there's so much variety and variation in how it tastes. Mm-hmm. And that changes how you prepare the dish. But if you just measure this much fish sauce,
you can't.
You put it in,
you have to taste everything.
But you don't just have to taste it. You have to taste it and know what you're tasting. You have to know why.
And the other thing is that you have to know what goes in when seasoning. What goes in first?
That's right too.
What goes in second? What goes in last? When you make a salad dressing, Thai salad dressing consists of three things. Okay, an acid. Okay, fish sauce, and sweetness. All right. So what do you put in first? Sugar and fish sauce. And then you put the acid in, because if you put the acid in first,
it gets bitter.
No, when you put acid in first and you put too much, you can correct it, no matter how much sugar
it's like
you
salting
put in.
food. You don't season your food before you cook it.
Right.
I mean, you do, but you don't.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Okay, this is a really interesting one that calls back to your book.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
You said about Western chef cooking Thai food. Did you know that I did a video for Jamie Oliver?
Okay.
And I sent it to him, and he thanked me, and he to do a green curry because he had Uncle whatever his name was. Uncle Roger.
This is after he got Uncle Roger. He reached out to you.
Right.
All right.
And then he redid it again, and then Uncle Roger said, Chef McDang didn't do it that way. But you see what I mean? Because it's very, very intricate way of cooking. It's very, very...
Great question from J.S. Royd or J. Sroyd.
Uh-huh.
In Chef McDang's earlier book, I don't have it next to me to give an exact quote, he had a statement along the lines that Thai people are ambivalent about deep frying. Over the years, it seems like deep frying has been deployed more widely. As an example, lab mu krab. Are Thai tastes changing, or what's happening? What's behind this trend of more and more deep fried stuff in Thai food, as this viewer recognizes?
No, it's Chinese. Okay? That's all. Because deep frying... I wrote that Thais are not good at deep frying or steaming seafood. We overcook them to hell. It becomes like rubber or it becomes dry like tissue paper. The Chinese are the best. But what we did, especially with deep fry item, is this. It's a Chinese cooking technique that just came. The Chinese are much better at that. Stir frying, the Chinese is much better than that. And what ended up happening is that the fish we use, if we want to fry a whole fish, we marinate it in samgre, which is coriander roots, garlic, and white peppercorns, okay, paste. And then you rub it on there and let it sit for, and then you just deep fry the whole thing. In the olden days, fish is not from the sea because we are not near the sea yet. So it's from the river. And everybody is afraid of worms. So they cook the hell out of it until it's like so dry that it's
like,
not delicious anymore.
Beef in central China, it's the same thing.
Right. So right now in Thailand, because we farm everything, so no worms anymore.
Okay, couple more. Here's a very specific one, but I think this is interesting. A viewer who I think is overseas, Bien de Riviere, says, what's the secret to making delicious tuon man pla at home? I had these once in a now closed restaurant as an appetizer, but since then I haven't found a recipe yet that comes anywhere close to what I had there. The secret to this one dish, the fish cakes.
Okay, actually, because you don't have pla karai, which is a freshwater fish in Thailand, which you scrape. So what you could do, this is pretty much like making quenelles or mousse. Okay? I don't know whether you would understand it or not, but this is
we'll put it on the screen,
very quenelle or mousse. How do you make a mousse, and why is the mousse bounce? Because you have to whip it, right? So now we have a food processor. Okay?
Great point.
So take any kind of white flesh fish, take the skin out, cube it, keep it cold. Okay, let's say half a kilo, 500 grams. Okay. Red curry paste, about 1.5 tablespoon. And 1 egg. All of it is cold. Put it in my food processor. Blend it until it balls up. Then you have to season it with palm sugar and fish sauce and julienne kaffir lime. That you can put it in an iced bain-marie, okay, and turn it. If you want to taste what it tastes like, just make a little patty and pan fry it, and then you'll get the taste of it.
Nathaniel Andrews did not specify whether this was directed at you or at me. I'm going to guess it's probably at you. Where do you get your hair cut? If it's me, it's Sun Sun Barber Shop on Super 43, $200.
This is a lot of money.
Yeah.
I change because all of this is gray, white, okay? So I change my hair color and my hair cut every month or every 6 weeks, and quite expensive, but I've been doing it for 20 years, so they're like my friends. So it costs a couple of $100.
But no barber you want to acknowledge on the channel that people could go to and ask for the chef McDang.
No, she's as arrogant as I am.
It's impossible in 1 hour to gain all the knowledge that Chef McDang has earned in a lifetime of studying Thai cuisine. But it is fascinating to understand that whether we're talking about street food or palace cooking, the north, south, east, or west, Thai food can be both a giant melting pot while also maintaining its own style, its own flavors, and its own rules. And for us, well, it just shows how much more there is to learn, and anyway, I've got at least 2 more meals to get to know more of the secrets of Chef McDang. I mean, those invitations are on tape. There's no taking it back now. Thanks to Chef for his time and generosity. Thanks to you for helping us reach 100,000 subscribers, and if you're not subscribed, please click on the button for more from OTR. And as always, a special thanks to those who support us on Patreon. It really helps to keep us going. You can find that link below in the description. So long.